sadrisham tattvamasya relaksham ekam nityam vimalamachalam sarvadi sakshibhutam bhavatitam trigunarahitam satgurum tam namami. Namaste, Nityanandam, welcome everyone. I'd like to welcome you with my love and my respect, my appreciation and gratitude. So today I would like to introduce and talk about Ayurveda. And so we're going to begin our discussion and our introduction to Ayurveda. And I want to kind of lay some of the groundwork for that understanding before we jump in and start talking about specifics and the more refined aspects. It's going to help to have an understanding of what is the Ayurveda. What is this? Where did it come from? How is this thing happening? So that's where I want to start. I want to start at the highest level, and then we will kind of zoom in, and this will take a few sessions to get through this. This is a vast, huge topic, okay? So, and Ayurveda is really enjoying a kind of a renaissance, a rebirth, really over the last, I think, 20, 30 years. It's been becoming more and more popular, and you will see this now in this current age that we're in, this current time that we're in. It's enjoying and really reveling in a lot of celebration, a lot of attention, and that's for good reason, because it's rooted in time itself. It's as old as time itself. And the path has been paved by yoga. Yoga is the largest practiced system worldwide, and it is rooted in that same tradition. These are sisters, yoga and Ayurveda, and as well as there are other sort of sibling sciences that create this totality, and I put them all under the category of Ayurveda. So where did it come from? What is happening? This interest is because of holistic medicine, and there is again the interest there. So people are looking, and there is still some information here. So the Ayurveda it comes from the land of India, from Bharat, from the ancient times of India. And the truth is, we don't really know how old Ayurveda is. We don't know how old, how long that system has been practiced. If we go by, we can look and we can examine this, and we can look in and we can try to understand where this is from and where we're getting this information, because that's part of what's important to people. They want to know, where is this coming from? The definition itself, Ayurveda, it's these two words put together. It's the science of life. It's the knowledge of living. The Ayurveda, it's the science of life. This is the human handbook. If you're looking for the methods and the strategies and the very clearly defined ways to create health in the body, to create longevity in the body, and to address disease, all of these things Ayurveda addresses. So we're talking about something that is literally, it's timeless. We can look and see documented most things that you read, most texts will agree that it's around 5,000 years old. Okay, so that's a long time. especially for people, most people's idea of time is really, if you've grown up in the US or in the West, 100 or 200 years is a long time. And that's what we've seen. And so that's a lot of times the reference point. So first of all, we have to expand what is the time frame. And so there's been a continuous chain that this information has been transmitted and initiated down through this line that's kept this wisdom tradition alive. And that's what's so special about this, is it's rooted in literally before time. Now written, we can see 4,000 or 5,000 years old. That's a long time. Now, if you go into some of the traditions that I work in, that I am personally involved in, there are records and accounts that go back as far as 50 or 60,000 years. So just kind of pause for a second and wrap yourself around that. 60,000 years of a system of methods, of techniques, of strategies, of understandings, of insights, of research and development. What could be done with that? If that's not science-based, I don't know what is. It is the most science-based tradition, very, very detailed. And this is one thing I love about the Vedic tradition, and I love about the lifestyle. And that's one of the key points to make, is it's the handbook for a lifestyle. If you have, how do you know this is for you? How do you know it will work for you? Well, because it's, no matter which account, which number you go by, 4,000 or 5,000 years or 50 or 60,000 years, either way, that's a long time. So if you have a human body and you're interested in health, you're interested in awakening what are the side effects and after effects of health in the body, what's the true human potential, then Ayurveda is for you. This is the science of life. It's the art of living. This is what is contained in this wisdom tradition. So we have to understand that this knowledge and this wisdom has it's brought great benefit into my life. And this is how 20 years ago I was introduced to the Ayurveda, and I began my study then. I later went to medical school, and so now this is almost a full circle 20 years later, and everything ends up back in the wisdom traditions. It's rooted in tradition. So when you're interested in really the human handbook to health and longevity, and how do we operate this human system? Because I grew up in the West. Nobody gave me a human handbook. No one gives you the manual on being human. We had to figure this thing out. All of us did. And this is really just in the modern world, regardless of the geographical location that you were raised in, what your country of origin is. The modern world is pretty globally set up, and everyone is looking how to incorporate and how to manage their human spacesuit. How do we keep this thing happy, healthy, alive, doing well, so that we can go through and enjoy the things in life, enjoy our family, our friends, the things that we create, our jobs, the different things that we do. Ayurveda gives us this wisdom. It gives us this knowledge. So it's actually a tradition that was rooted in the oral transmission of these teachings, these techniques, these understandings, the framework with which the human cognition is built upon. And this is ideally built, and it's a software really that is ideally and best installed in a person when they're young, and then they have these understandings in the first 7 years of their life, And then through those learning years, through 7 to 14 and 14 to 21, we have these different cycles, and your brain is building itself. And Ayurveda understands that, and it works within that framework, and it actually gives us a solid framework to understand. It gives us a lens to view life through. It's a lifestyle system, and that's exactly what what we're going to be talking about. So I think it's important to have a kind of an understanding and a cognition about where is this information, this wisdom of Ayurveda coming from. It's coming from existence itself. It was revealed in it is actually revealed, a revealed knowledge to the rishis, to the saints, the siddhas, that brought this information. That this information was revealed directly from the source, from the cosmic intelligence, from tuning in deep within the human system. And this is something that every human being shares. We share that common source, regardless of your country of origin or different belief setups. There is a common agreement that we can land on, and that's that we're human, and that we're living on the planet, and that there are certain rules that will encourage health and well-being, and there are certain things that will take you in the other direction. So we're looking for the handbook, we're looking for the map, the manual to understand this. This is where again, thousands of years, 10, 20, 30,000 years, this information has been in the cognition, and this was not written down. This was transmitted from the teacher to the disciple and passed down like this, in this fashion, in the oral format, in the oral tradition. And this is where the sound and the initiation was given and transmitted. And this is what I've experienced in my life, and this is what I'm sharing with you, because this is my experience and this is my understanding of this information. And one thing that is key also to understand is many people in the common world are locked in, obsessed with history and documenting and scientific evidence and this kind of thing. And in the wisdom tradition of Ayurveda, this was passed down through the oral tradition. And in the Western education setup, we're almost taught to believe that things, it's like long ago, once upon a time, things were kept in an oral tradition. And it almost makes it sound like cavemanish, or like not sophisticated. And the truth is that the oral tradition, and in the Sanskrit tradition, and in the language, the highly intelligent, the highly refined language that is Sanskrit, this is how this information was stored. And we have to understand sound is the vehicle and the wisdom vessel that this information was transmitted. So, and when it was written down, it was actually kind of a dumbing down of the totality of the information that was transmitted in the Sanskrit language through the sutras, that was revealed to the rishis, to the saints, to the wise beings who have shared this information with us. The sound tradition, the way that is passed down, and the way that sound happens in the body, and that it was passed down through the Vedas and through the limbs of the Vedas, which are the ancient scriptures that this wisdom tradition comes from. They were passed down in little packets of information called sutras. And this is a short verse. And this is how this wisdom oral tradition was passed down for thousands of years. And we have to understand in that sutra, and sutra, the word sutra means a thread. And it's the thread of that information that's passed through. And when that sutra is sounded out, when it's intoned in the body, it actually invokes and unfolds and expresses the wisdom and the knowledge that is packaged in that sutra. So the written part only catches some small percentage of that. The totality of that information is locked in that sutra. And so you have to understand that. And so it's very important when you do undertake this, and this is not for everyone to go, learn Sanskrit and learn the ancient verses, but I think it's I have done that, and that's what is important to appropriately unlock this information again in my own life, and I've found tremendous benefit from that. And so it is my experience that this information is alive. It's not something from long ago that used to work thousands of years ago, and now we live in a different world and we need a more biomedical, more science-based approach. There is nothing more science-based, more documented than Ayurveda. This is the history. So one important shift that I would invite you to make, and I think is a key difference in the modern world today versus the ancient times of the rishis and the enlightened beings, the avatars who were transmitting this, is we live in a world of where beliefs guide our life. They guide our thought processes. So people believe in certain things, and they get locked into that, and that sometimes it can stray you away from actually what is true. In ancient times and in the Vedic civilization, that's a civilization that is still alive today because it was a seeking-based civilization, a seeking-based lifestyle. And so the seeking for the inherent truths in life was what drove the day-to-day existence. It's what drives you, and this is different than because the seeker can shift rapidly based on new information revealed that will point them toward the truth. And it's actually a tremendous freedom, because you're free to change your opinion. You're free to change something that you've been doing, even if you've been doing it for years, and you are truly a seeker. And I think if you're tuning in, then you are a seeker. You're seeking a truth. You're seeking wisdom. You're seeking out the pertinent information that's going to improve your life in a positive way, and it's going to improve your health. It's going to move your health forward. That there is a kind of a seeking that's built in there, and I would say pay attention to that. Is that what's guiding your research and guiding the things that you do in your life? Is it a seeking-based mentality, or is it a belief-based mentality, where the belief-based mentality sometimes is a little bit confining, because if there's a belief, something that we come across and we read it and it seems to click, and or maybe it comes from some source that we trust, and then we believe that, we get locked into that. And so down the road, even contrary to evidence that may turn that belief upside down, for example, the current biomedical model, the current allopathic dominant school of medicine is very, 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 very rigidly belief-based, science-based, evidence-based. But when you actually look into this and you look a little bit deeper into it, there are no cures, there is no health that has been generated from this long term. millions and millions, billions of dollars are spent every day to propagate this belief that this biomedical model is the way to go. And when we look closer, and anyone can look closely and see and look at the actual data, the actual evidence in the journals, in the data, and we see that this is not the case. We see that this does not promote health. It does not cure disease, the biomedical model, the allopathic medicine. So where does that leave us? It leaves us seeking. And so we have to switch over, and we start seeking, and we start looking for other systems, and systems that you come across when you start doing this, when you get yourself on this journey and you get into this rabbit hole, you come across things like Ayurveda. And these things are still alive, and even things like naturopathic medicine and homeopathic medicine and all of these other schools that are kind of popular, they all have their roots in Ayurveda, in the wisdom tradition. That's where they go. And the reason that this tradition, this science of living, the science of longevity, the art of living, the art of health, the reason they're still around is because they actually work. And they've withstood the test of time, of thousands of years, hundreds of years of suppression and these kinds of things. But yet the light of Ayurveda shines bright. The light of Ayurveda is still here, calling out to everyone, calling out to you, saying, there is wisdom in this tradition. There is in this tradition, in these tiny sutras, in these threads of cosmic intelligence, you can find how to live and how to be happy and healthy and wealthy, and how to do that in a repeatable fashion that is documented. So that kind of a background is, I think, important to understand before we jump into talking about specifics about Ayurveda. Because a lot of people have heard of doshas, vata, pitta, kapha, and we're going to talk about doshas. We're going to do that. But again, with a little bit of a kind of a bigger picture, we can understand, because we're looking at the journey, the descent of consciousness into matter. That's what we're doing. We're looking at the descent of grace, the descent of consciousness into the matter, into the physical body. So first we have to bow down and pay respects and honor the great tradition that this comes from. The great masters, the rishis, the sages, the saints, the seers, the siddhas, who have kept this tradition alive. Tremendous beings who have brought this information, this wisdom into existence, and tremendous beings and traditions who have kept this alive. We have to honor that and bow down and respect that and activate and enliven that, so that we can begin to understand and comprehend, because otherwise the good stuff is missed if you just take it at the superficial value and you don't unlock the keys that are the sutras, that where we can really open up and embody that knowledge and really understand what's happening there. This information, this understanding, I think, is really important. So the journey of consciousness into matter, the Ayurvedic system it takes, and this is a wonderful thing about the Sanatana Dharma, about the Vedic tradition, is that it's a seeking-based tradition. So it's going to take the best parts of different thought trends. And so we have different philosophies in life. We have we have the different philosophies in of life. We have, and I'm trying to not use Sanskrit words, but I'm going to use a few. We have the Sankhya philosophy. We have the Nyaya and Vaisheshika philosophies. And then we have Mimamsa, Yoga, and Vedanta. Now, the Yoga and Vedanta are two of the thought trends that have made it into and kind of paved the way for us to even have this conversation today. And again, the beauty of all of these philosophies and the beauty of this tradition is it's always open for being upgraded. It's not locked into a certain way of being. The wisdom built into the tradition of Ayurveda, the tradition of yoga, is that it understands that life is changing and life is evolving, and the teachings are always available to be upgraded. That's why anyone, regardless of what your belief mental setup is, the different schools that you believe in, all of them are welcome when we're having this discussion, because there's a place for literally every kind of belief system and thought trend and thought currency. You can get in and understand this and be included. That's another beautiful thing about this is an all-inclusive science. There's no one that is excluded from this discussion, from this conversation, from my point of view. Everybody's welcome. Everybody's included. And as we're all seeking, trying to understand what is this journey of the consciousness into matter, we can use the framework of Ayurveda to understand this. And it's going to incorporate all of the different philosophies and take the best parts of all those philosophies and then present to us the human handbook. How do we understand? How do we create health in the body? How do we restore health in the body? How do we create longevity in the body? How do we create spiritual awakening in the body? And this is at the root of what the siddhas, what the masters, what the rishis, the seers are sharing with us. The reason we have the health is so that we can awaken the cosmic intelligence. And that's the first understanding, one of the first understandings that we can have when we're talking about Ayurveda, is the pure consciousness, which is, we can say the Purusha. The Purusha, the dwelling place of the consciousness, it begins to happen. And then we have this interaction and we have this moving from the unknown dimensions into the known dimension. That's the Big Bang. That's the Purusha and the Prakriti. That is the first interaction that we need to know about. The Purusha and the Prakriti. The movement from the unknown dimension into the known dimension. That Purusha and Prakriti, that's the Big Bang that's always happening. It's always happening. And then this is the descent of matter. The world of Prakriti is the world of form. It's the world of from the unmanifest into the manifest. So we're mapping the journey. We're following this journey from the unmanifest into the manifest, which is the 3D world, which is the body that we have. Again, that's what we're interested in. That's what we're looking in. This is a key understanding that we need to have if we want to understand how the Ayurveda is going to work in our life, what it can contribute. It's important that we understand that we're tuning into a tradition that's thousands of years old, that is loaded with wisdom. And as soon as we have that seeking, that thirst for the knowledge and the understanding and the experience of what this can do for us, what this can do for the planet, what this can do for our individual lives, for our families, for our communities, for our cities, our states, our worlds, our government, The world needs the science and the art of Ayurveda in it. It needs this knowledge, and people are thirsty for it. And that's what we're going to continue, and we're going to follow this journey, this descent of this consciousness into matter, and explore this wonderful science of Ayurveda that has blessed me in my life so much, to have these understandings, because it helps to understand what's happening. How is the mind working? How is the health working? When we have a science, a system, a framework to understand this, and it helps. It helps to be human. It helps to have a system to understand what's happening. So this journey, the descent of the consciousness into matter, is the science of life. It's what Ayurveda is. It's thousands of years old, revealed to us by the seekers that have come before us, and we bow down and we respect those people that have done this before, those great beings that have brought this information here. And we're going to explore this in further sessions, but I wanted to take a few minutes and introduce this philosophy, because this is key before we can dive deeper and start getting into the specifics of what's happening here, and what are the different aspects, the different qualities that we're going to be exploring, and how are those going to be interacting, creating health or taking health away, or bringing positive consciousness, positive energy into the body. How are we going to understand that? We have to have this understanding and this appreciation, this gratitude for the great tradition, as known as Ayurveda, the wisdom of life, the science of living, the art of living. So I hope this has been helpful. Please stay tuned. You can leave your comments, you can like or share or subscribe to to this video, and we're going to continue this conversation next time. Until then, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll close with our completion mantra. As we do this mantra, just allow the wisdom to land on your body and begin to unlock and express in the body. Let this knowledge and this wisdom land on all of you, so that all of your lives are improved in a positive direction, and that the health of you and your family and your loved one is improved and enhanced by this knowledge. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you so much.